Not a very welcome to the party. He's down 100 grand. Well, Andrew Feldman, he's not a quitter. He's rebought for another $100,000. And a player like that, what's he thinking now?
Well, he's probably regretting the call, that much is certain. Feels he's probably a little bit unlucky, but he was up against Phil. And I just don't know whether Phil makes the bet that he made without the ace of clubs, so he might be regretting it a little. But he'll pick himself up. You don't win the kind of money he's won without being able to change your game, up it. But he is up against Phil Ivey. It's going to be a tough road back for him.
Well, one thing that's interesting is once Phil Ivey bets on the turn and gets called, Phil Ivey really can't make that bet on the river unless he has the ace or the straight flush. Because his opponent could have that. Remember, his opponent smooth called him.
Exactly.
Well, let's move on here. Button is in front of Tom Dwan. Phil Ivey, the big winner so far, is in the big blind, but that's Patrick Antonius. Pretty boy with the suited ace.
Yeah.
Yourself could have saved you.
Nah. Pass. Pass. Pass.
Just the blinds.
2,100 total. Pass.
And Patrick Antonius is going to take this one down. Mattisau does not defend with his ace.
If you really want to know what I think about it, let me know.
Say it.
Everybody at the table laughing except Andrew Feldman.
Say what's ever on your mind.
What's on my mind?
It was a bad call.
It was one of the worst calls I've ever seen in my life. There you go. I had to say it. I couldn't help myself.
That's why you're here. Commenting other players.
Somebody's got to entertain this table, and since I'm here with a bunch of wet noodles.
That's right. Every time you know something, you have to say it. It's in your contract.
But I knew one thing: when Phil moved in on the river, he had the ace of clubs in his hand minimum.
So I never move in with less than that.
I called 20,000 on the turn.
I would never do it, ever.
What you just think he called with on the turn? 0?
Pass. A king of clubs.
Yeah, I know, but I thought you had the ace, to be honest with you.
I played exactly like the king of clubs.
Yeah, but if you had the ace, you'd have played it the same way, too.
Nah, never.
Really? I would have.
He's all going in. He'll shove with the ace of clubs.
Mattisau very critical of Feldman's call.
No, in flat.
Well, in fairness, Mike's pretty critical of almost everyone else's play. Rarely his own, though.
Well, it was a couple of seasons ago where he was the self-proclaimed best no-limit cash game player at the table and then proceeded to lose $200,000.
That is good news.
And Tom Dwan going to take that one down. Mike the Mouth Mattisau still talking. Phil Ivey still winning.
And then
get a raise from Chris Ferguson.
You made the exact same play on Ellie tonight.
First position raise with a 7-8 suited. He's mixing it up.
Well, he figures everybody else is busy talking. Maybe I can just steal a pot when nobody's looking.
I can fold now.
It's also a very dangerous spot when it's Phil's button.
Well, we don't have to worry about Phil, though. We do have to worry about Tom Dwan if you're Chris Ferguson. He's called in position with the ace-queen offsuit. A vulnerable hand if you're calling, an under-the-gun raise for Chris Ferguson, isn't it?
It certainly is. That's probably why he's only flat calling a lot of players he might have re-raised with.
Well, Chris Ferguson has outflopped him. He's hit second pair. He's also got backdoor hearts. Really nothing there at all for Tom Dwan. I mean, if you're Chris Ferguson, I think you definitely have to do a little continuation bet here, right?
Yeah, that's definitely what I'd have thought was on the agenda.
Yeah, Ferguson a 3-1 favorite over Tom Dwan. Does Tom Dwan float one here, knowing the type of player he's up against?
He could do. Wants to see whether he's going to fire again on the turn. Hope he's up at now. He's probably hoping he's up against Ace-King if he does decide to float one. I just think the range of hands Chris is likely to have in this spot. Normally, we're not looking at the 8-7. If we're looking at kind of genuine hands.
I mean, you're thinking minimum Ace-King. But if Chris Ferguson does have Ace-King and Tom Dwan calls one time, he can probably take it away from him on the turn.
Exactly. He might be able to take it away from him if he's sitting there with like 7s or 9s or something like that. So.
I'm always in trouble.
Well, he's putting the pressure back on Chris. It's going to be interesting to see how much Chris likes his hand.
Yeah, Tom Dwan has raised this one up, and the action's back to Ferguson. It's an odd... Now, Ferguson actually bet 3,000. Tom Dwan has raised it up to about 9, I want to think. Now, if Tom Dwan actually had a legitimate hand here, might he just smooth call, though? It's an odd raise.
Exactly. If he's sitting there with a 10 or an 8, he's probably likely to smooth call. It's almost like he's representing a set, because that's the kind of hand you might want to try and shovel a lot of chips in with.
Chris Jesus Ferguson, always so deliberate about everything he does at the poker table. And this is no exception.
It looks like he's reaching for the chips, wants to make the call. No, looks like he wants to make the re-raise.
Right.
What a great play here from Chris. I think he's realised that that was a move by Tom Dwan. Good play by Chris, and he picks that one up very quickly. Nice read. And that's why he's the 2000 World Series of Poker champion.
It's a fantastic play by Chris Ferguson. I mean, I think he played it pre-flop like he had aces or kings, and he said, you know what, I'm going to continue it like I have aces or kings. I also think Tom Dwan probably would have been more successful had he just called and then tried to take it away in the turn.
I think you read it absolutely right when you said if he's got any kind of half a hand here, he's just going to flat call and see what happens on the turn when you're up against Chris in a first position. He spotted it for what it was, and just great play by Chris.
I'm Chris Ferguson, 2000 World Champion of Poker. I've played poker all my life. You know, I don't remember when I learned the game. I'm sure my parents taught it to me at some point. It was 1994, so when I really decided to take the game seriously and study the game, trying to be one of the best poker players in the world. It's not something that I decided to become a professional poker player. I played poker because I love playing poker, and eventually I was making more money playing poker than anything else. And that's when I realized I was a professional poker player.
Well, it's 24 hours of intense poker action. And I thought for a second it might take a while to get things going, but I was wrong, because right away, Phil Ivey up $130,000. Tom Dwan first to act. Now, one thing's interesting. I know you have a lot of experience having won $100,000 or even lost $100,000, as sad as it might sound. How do you feel either way? I mean, what are these players feeling just minutes into our first action?
Well, I think if you're setting down for a session like this, you've got to be expecting to have some pretty big swings. I think Phil's probably going to be more full of confidence, obviously, picking up over $100,000 pretty early on. But Andrew Feldman knows he's here for the long haul. He knows it could end up that he ends up losing a few $100,000 in this cash game.
Well, this is interesting. Phil Ivey has raised it up with Jack-7, and Andrew Feldman's going to play his button. He's going to re-raise, and he's going to take this one away as Ivey gets out of the way. So the first round goes to Ivey, but the second round goes to Feldman.
I think the first round was almost a knockout, so I'd take that one rather than the second.
Well, there's one now.
Yeah, one I put in. Broken my duck.
Andrew, quick chance to have a catch-up. It's been pretty tough for you in the opening few hands, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really had many hands in the only first real premium hand I had, the ace-king. I raised it up and flopped a straight and second nut flush draw against Phil Ivey. And he check raised me and decided to call the turn, bought the inevitable flush for both of us. And he bet, which I pretty much felt he was going to bet the turn, whatever it was, so I felt I had to call. And the river made a flush, well, total blank. I just felt that all-in bet coming. I just felt it, whatever the river was, he was going to push. I'm all in.
Phil over-betting the pot, moving all in here.
I made the call, which obviously he had the nuts, and yeah, it was a bit up. That's the way it goes. Cool.
Oh, and he calls!
He makes a call. I've seen him make a few calls in the past. I wasn't surprised that he did it.
It's a horrible situation to be in, but obviously still early stages. Do you think you've picked up a few bits that might help you in the latter stages, and can you turn it around?
Yeah, I mean, buying's nothing in this game. I can easily turn it around. You know, like Phil Ivey, like a couple of years ago, was the biggest loser at the start, and he ended up turning it around in one hand against Patrick. So, you know, anything can happen in this. You just, if I get aces against kings, then you can get all my money back. So no, I'm optimistic that hopefully hit some cards and connect with some flops, and Phil Ivey's will be on the other end of flush over second nut flush. So So we'll see what happens.
We would love to see another $900,000 hand or whatever it was. Hope it goes to you. Well done. Hope it gets better for you as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Well done.